Hi there, my name's Carly, and it's a real privilege to get to chat with you today and to share a little bit about how God has moved in my life. I feel pretty blessed, really. I haven't always believed in God, but I know that He's been watching over me and blessing me all of my life. I suppose going back, my parents baptised me Anglican when I was 5 and sent me to an Anglican school, and so I got to hear a lot of stories about Jesus and his love for the children, and heard lots of Bible stories, and I just, being a young child, believed what I was taught. And I remember praying as a child at night by myself, and I believed and I knew that God loved me. I did go off track for a while, and as a teenager I, instead of continuing to read the Bible and just accept what I was taught at school, I started to question whether Christianity was the only way, and I started to look into other religions. I tried meditating, became vegetarian because I thought that animals and humans were equal, and I started going to a parapsychology school where I learnt to read auras and got into numerology and bits and pieces, and did the normal typical teenage things as we do. So I did walk away from God, unfortunately, and hit rock bottom, I suppose, when I was 18. I was really looking for meaning and purpose, and I did believe in the supernatural, but unfortunately I ended up taking up an offer to train with a so-called Shaolin monk, and under the disguise of Kung Fu martial arts. That was a crazy 6 months of my life. I started to believe a whole lot of lies and was manipulated, brainwashed. Pretty crazy time for me, emotionally, physically, spiritually. The whole lot got a bit crazy. It was a really good high school friend of mine who helped me wake up to the fact that I was in the wrong place. We were on a catering job together one weekend, and she's like, "Carly, if you can't listen to me, I'm one of your best friends. If you can't listen to me, who are you going to listen to?" And I started to tune in because my mum and dad had shown signs of worry as well. I'd got into a very crazy place, quite screwed up. Leaving was one of the hardest things I've done. I was full of fear. I was threatened with my life, and so it was hard to leave. I didn't want help from Christians because I didn't want to be brainwashed again, so I ended up not getting any help. I moved on. I went to live in Japan, actually, and started to kind of go down the slippery slope again. Drugs, alcohol, sleeping around, not nice stuff, but still kind of quite shaky ground. Still looking for answers, but couldn't find them. And I made friends with an Australian girl. I love sharing this story because I think that it's often people who introduce us to God and His love, and this person really helped me come to the Lord. And one night we got to the conversation where she said, "So Carly, do you believe in God?" So yes, I was like, "Yes, I believe in a higher power." She's like, "Oh yeah," and I'm like, "What about you?" She said she started talking about God in a very personal way, and that was quite in contrast to my experience of God. She talked about prayer as talking to God and hearing from God, and she gave me a Bible, and she suggested I start reading from the Gospel of Mark, which was definitely the Lord's plan, because you might not realise, but the Gospel of Mark has the most episodes of Jesus casting demons out of people. There's a lot of spiritual warfare, so to speak, in the Gospel of Mark. So I started reading Mark, and a few chapters in, I was reading about Jesus delivering somebody and having authority over darkness and setting people free. And it was just obvious to me that I wanted to know Jesus and to be under his protection, and so my eyes were starting to open, and I continued to read the Bible, and I was going to a Bible study group in the university dorm that I lived in. But I didn't want to go to church because I was still scared of being brainwashed again. So it was quite a battle of my mind. And I was wanting to know God, but I still had a lot of barriers. So anyway, these Christians came around me and answered my questions and loved me and accepted me, prayed with me. And eventually I went to church, and that day, the preaching was on John chapter 3, Nicodemus, where Jesus is saying to Nicodemus that you need to be born again. And anyway, I could hear it, and I knew that's what I needed to do. So yeah, I was having a bit of resistance, but I spoke to somebody after the service, and I said that I didn't want other people to go through what I'd been through, and that person said, "Carly, if you want to help others, you need help first." I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And so anyway, I was willing to get help and to put in the work, and praise God, it's been an amazing journey. I continue to seek him, and one of my favourite verses is Matthew 7:7, "Seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened." And yes, I had been seeking God for a long time, and I'd finally met him, and I asked Jesus to be my Lord, and an amazing smile came over my face, and it's hardly left since, because he truly has saved me and changed my life. From that moment, lots of things I just didn't need or want to do anymore. I didn't drink alcohol for 9 years. I stopped drugs and relationships. I knew that Jesus had forgiven me for all of my sins, and I knew that I had done some bad things and hurt people, but he forgave me. And I knew that if I was going to meet somebody and fall in love, that I could wear white down the aisle, because he'd purified me through his blood and through his sacrifice. And that's an amazing gift. I knew that I was a new creation in his sight, and that I'd been given a new life, a new start. And sometimes when I share with people about my life BC, before Christ, it seems a little bit unbelievable, like I was a different person, and I was. And now my life is about serving God and giving him the glory, because he's given me so much. And now I'm so blessed. I have a wonderful husband, Wayne, who also came to faith as an adult, and we've got 2 beautiful children, 2 also in heaven, and our life, we live to share God's love with others, and he's blessing us a lot, and it's so wonderful to share our faith with our kids and to see them grow up knowing their Creator. And I work for our local parish now, and part of my role is to run the Alpha course, and I love that, because it's a place which we facilitate for people to come and ask questions and get the answers that we all need about the love of God. And I would love to talk with any of you more about parts of my story, and praise to God who sets us free and fills us with his love and his joy. Amen.